Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. We don't have the intro this morning, so we're going to go straight into it. We're going to start. We are here. We're ready to go. Another episode today, Wednesday, the 3rd of August in the year 2022. My co-host, colleague, co-accused, already in the studio, waiting. Apologies for not having the theme song to introduce the program this morning, but we had some technical difficulties. But we're here and we're ready to go. So don't let the absence of the theme song throw you off. We are ready to go. And therefore, as you know the drill by now, share the live, share the live. The numbers are mounting. We don't start. People, I suspect, were waiting on the theme song. But we, as I said, we had some technical difficulties, and but we are ready to go. Welcome. The man who first reported for duty today is Vibert. Vibert Larson reported first for duty. And then we have Elise here, Orly, and some others. Let me see all those who are here early. Denise, as usual. Denise, you aren't missing this time around, you aren't missing. You're here early for duty. Good police, early for duty. Early for duty this morning again. Danette, Denise, Danette. We have Umur. Elise is here very early. Sheena, and the group, the people are here. The people are here. Let's share. Do like Sherrod. Share the damn live stream. Let people know that we are ready to go to get the credible information. Raul is here. Corinne, Harriet, the air, Colleen, and others. Let me know where you're coming from. Just indicate to us where you are joining us from. You know, in the past we have had people from the US, of course, England, Suriname, Barbados, Trinidad, Antigua, Barbuda, regular Antigua, Barbuda. My friend Roberto Flack, there's a whole name, but only we would know. Only the people from the ghetto would know that name, Roberto Flack. I'm not sure if he's here yet. I see the countryman here. Lenny, you're late. Lenny, you're late. Denise will deal with you. You have a regular Gordon. Gordon is here. Ulrich, man. Ulrich is here. Ulrich worked with me for so many years. We worked together at West Demerara. We worked together in Bordeaux. Ulrich is a regular on the program. Regular. Lynette. Welcome, Lynette. Welcome. Joan, another regular. A lot of regular. Everett. All these regulars. Muse. Consumer Muse. Welcome to all. Welcome. Share the live stream. Share. The numbers are mounting rapidly. So we have so much to pass on this morning. We don't want anybody to miss anything. We don't want anyone to miss anything. Gordon, old prosecutor, old cricketer from Borby's Gordon, man. We were talking earlier, CC and I, about some of the great police cricketers. And we know you from Borby's. And my squaddy, Richie and them boys from Borby's, used to dominate senior cricket in Borby. So welcome, Gordon. You're always here every day to support, and we appreciate that very much. We have Sandra from New York watching. Tessa, my girl Tessa is here. Never miss a day. Tessa is here. Tessa telling me good afternoon. Tessa, which part of the world you are? Which part? Maybe you're in London or someplace there. But welcome to all. Welcome. Then I have another Tessa here. I know this Tessa is from Primobi Consumer. I know she is from BV. So welcome. Aileen is here. Deborah is here. Joan says, good morning, Professor Slow. Well, I ain't get that thing yet, I ain't got no professor certificate yet. And I'm not one of those persons who taking certificate and calling myself all kind of thing, doctor and all kind of thing. No, I'm not going to do that. I have to qualify. I have to earn what is given to me. So when you see I post the name CCA, there's a Kasi Krong that was given to me. I earned that. The government gave me that. DSM, the government gave me that. I have a bachelor's degree. I earned that. So only those things I'm taking. So when you call me professor and so on, no. I am going there. Winston, welcome. Stan, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Now, as I've said, we have so many things to talk about this morning, so many things. I am waiting for the numbers to go up a little bit more before I bring in Mr. Conway and we start. But before I do that, let me take this opportunity to thank all of you who extended birthday greetings to me last week. You know, last Wednesday during the program, I indicated that it was my natal day, the day on which I was born, the 27th of July. And many people, hundreds and hundreds of persons, sent out greetings, wished me well. And I dearly appreciate the sentiments expressed. It was very, very moving. I thank you for taking time from your schedule to send those greetings to me. It meant a lot to me because, you know, the last year was a very challenging year. Many of you know of the trumped up charges against myself and Mr. Conway. All that went through there, all the running to the court, the private actions they have brought against me and all of that. But they are there, they bond there, you know. I ain't going no place. I ain't going no place. And as we, during a few days ago, we observed and we celebrated emancipation. Yeah, this is a time of this to show the indomitable spirit. The indomitable spirit. And I told you all I come from them tribe, them warrior tribe. So I am not backing down. No retreat, no surrender. No retreat, no surrender. I am going to be here to continue to pass on the information, to continue to attempt to educate those who want to be educated. And today you will find today program, I'm sure, very educational. That is not to say that you have not found the other programs educational, but some of the subjects that we want to talk about today will surely educate most of you. I see GT Rugal, and it's only the other day I got to realize, GT Rugal, who you really are when you're sent to identify yourself as my partner's sister, my late partner's sister. So welcome to the program, one and all. Yeah, so the Emancipation Day was observed on Monday, and you would have had a lot of comments what emancipation means to us, the descendants of African slaves. I suspect that some people need to be educated about the history of the slave trade. Because, you know, when you think about it, to understand that for over 200 years, our foreparents were brought to this country in chains, and then they were made to work long hours, no pay, beaten, and all kind of atrocities committed against them. We have to celebrate and we have to honor that legacy. Some of us perhaps don't realize that. We are easily misled. We easily led astray. And at a time, it is a time for reflection and do a little reading, do a little research, and understand what emancipation really meant to the slaves back in 1834. Yeah, because in 1834, 1st of August, and then they said the slaves had to go through a period of apprenticeship. Imagine they're doing the work all year. They're digging them trenches, they're planting the fields, they're doing all the manual labor. And when the time came for them to be free on 1st of August, 1834, they said that they weren't qualified enough. So they wanted a further 4 years, which they call the apprenticeship period. So between 1834 and not until the 1st of August, 1838, that the slaves were finally freed. So it must have meant a lot to them, and we need to reflect. It is because of their sacrifices that we are here today in this part of the world, and that we can say that we are free. And then the question is normally asked, how free can we say we are, given all that is going on? So share the life, let the word pass, let people come and let them hear what is going on. So once again, thank you much for all the birthday greetings. And I hope that you had a wonderful 1st of August. And when we talk about emancipation, it cannot be just one day, 1st of August only. See, a lot of people dress up with the African clothes and all that on that particular day. But it should be something to observe and something to celebrate all year round. All year round. So welcome to you all. And let me start with some other news, we normally say, and let me say, as we normally say, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. And we have to be glad that we are here in the land of the living. And therefore, we should rejoice. We should give praise to the Almighty for allowing us to be here today, for allowing us to take part in this program. And because many others have not had the privilege to see this new day. And I got the sad news over the past couple of days of the passing of two former members. The first one that came to attention was the death of retired Chief Inspector Lewis. I think Ruben Lewis, 6043, old police way back, 6043, Ruben Lewis. I remember him vaguely when I joined. He was there. I think he used to be for some time in police operations room, Vietnam. But he passed, I think it was on Monday or sometime then, he passed. I think he lived on the Essequibo coast somewhere and he passed. So we need to give condolences to the relatives of the deceased, Ruben Lewis. And then I also got word yesterday or the day before of the death of a former member, Hector Robin, 9325, Hector Robin. Now, he was a TSU rank with me. When I joined the TSU in 1974, I met Robin, those 9300 police. I'm a 9500 police. I met Robin and those guys there. And then Robin, after he left the force, he worked at Citizens Bank. So whenever I went to the bank there in Camp Street, he worked there as a security personnel. So I got word that Robin passed, I think, Monday or this week. He passed this week. So I want to express condolences to the relatives and friends of both Lewis and Robin. May they rest in peace and rise in glory. Now, I also want to update you on the last week we announced the death of retired Inspector Edward Green. And word is that he is going to be laid to rest tomorrow. The viewing will be at Sandy's Funeral Home from 12 to 1, and the funeral service will immediately follow at the same venue. I also received word that the wake should be held. They said at the police post club, but they did not say the date that is going to be held. I suspect therefore it might be tonight. Wake at the police sports club. So again, I want to express condolences to the relative friends of all those deceased person. But as you know, as I said, even more reason, this is even more reason why we have to celebrate being here in the land of the living. Now let me bring in Mr. Conway for him to have his say. CC, good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Paul. God has been good. We're happy to be in the land of the living. And I wish to express my condolences to those policemen who passed. I really didn't know them, but yet still, as a former member of the force, I wish to express my condolence to their friends and family.
Yeah. We always have to show support when a former colleague passes on. So how have you been keeping over the past week, CC?
Very good, very good. And as you mentioned, I took part a bit in the Emancipation Day. My grandchildren forced me to put on those African wears, so I had them on and I enjoyed it. It's good.
Yes, well, it's good to associate with activities like that. But CC, somewhere for me to start maybe with you. I noted that you wrote a letter in the newspaper recently about the police athletics. I think they had the police athletics championship. The final day was on Friday last at the national track and field place there in Lenora. And thereafter, I think they were celebrating a successful championship. And you had some words about that. What's that all about?
Well, first, I don't know how really they measure success. Over the years, the police have always been dominating the sports when they're overseas, their Caribbean counterparts come and participate. I can't recall at any sport that a overseas athlete was adjudged the best A-class athlete. On this occasion, a guy from Trinidad, I think some Mackenzie name, was the best, followed by one of our local athletes, and then another Trinidadian dominated. Our athletes have always dominated those games. Even when we went overseas, I can remember when I was sports officer, Mariam Bornet create havoc in Trinidad. That their commissioner wrote to our commissioner, Larry Lewis, to verify whether or not she was a member of the police force. She even went on to represent the country at the Olympics and at the Commonwealth Games and many other international events. We even had our own Diane Pearl James, who was very successful and became a FIFA referee. I think she's still with FIFA. So I'm really disturbed that our standard in terms of athletics has fallen to that extent whereby an overseas man come and dominate. And I'm wondering whether or not it's joining the other standards in the police force are also falling, maybe, and then athletics has joined them, the case may be. But all is not lost, Paul. I'm happy that Colin Bice has been appointed, I think, on a contractual base as a sports development officer. And I did my own investigation and I realized that there are some outstanding B-class athletes. I'm sure with Bice's input, providing he get the necessary support, we're able to raise the standard of those A-class, of those B-class athletes, and they will gravitate quickly to A-class top performance. I know the police, the Giant Services Games, they call it Isaac, no? Something.
Inter-service athletics, I think, inter-service annual athletics, something like that.
Yeah, championship. I hope that coming out of that, they will do extremely well, and that will be maybe the turning point for us to really continue to dominate. And not only in athletics, I believe boys will do well in other sports. So congratulations to boys, and I know that he will not disappoint me.
Well said, well said. I remember Barnett, I remember Diane Ferreira James, because I remember I too used to be the chairman of the police athletics section for a period. And I remember at the Melbourne Commonwealth Games, I was there with the shooting team, and Barnett was also there on that team. So we had some outstanding athletes, and we're not talking here, we're talking about track and field. If you're going to other sports like cricket, hockey, volleyball, we have always had boxing, we have always had outstanding athletes. So I share your concern that they can call the sport successful when in fact it was the main activity, that's the champion A-class at least, was won by an overseas athlete. And it's about standard, it's about the metrics they use to determine what is successful. So I believe they might have said that it was successfully organized, but they're not interested in the overall result to see how well our athletes did. So falling standards. As we share the stream, I noted Sister Trifosa and Lado and all those sponsors have now joined. So keep sharing. The numbers are mounting nicely. So keep sharing so that people can get, by the time we get into the meat, because you would note in the advertisement for the program, I said that we're going to discuss further this Quindon Bacchus murder. And we will do so. But it's just some other issues that we want to talk about before we get there. Now, the next thing I want to hear you about, CC, is I saw an advertisement on social media where the police are advertising that they will be going to East Berbice to do a recruitment drive sometime, I think, later this month or next month. I'm not sure when. But what struck me as strange, one, is that first I said Deputy Commissioner Administration, and we know there's no acting, there's no Deputy Commissioner Admin. So you're advertising people to join the force, and you have a dishonest and a misleading advertisement. And it goes on to say, and I make sure I made a note, because these people, they're going to be watching. And we like when they watch, because when they watch, they reluctantly accept some of the things that we have been saying. You may recall some time ago, we criticized the dismissal of this girl Ballers under the wrong section. They eventually corrected that. More recently, we talked out. We talk out about the we spoke out about the renaming.
Felix Austin.
We see some statements thereafter. So they listen, and I guess reluctantly. So I noted that they said that if you're interested in joining the police force, all you have to, when you go to these interviews, they name the places in Barbary Region 6. You have to walk with all your ID card, your birth certificate, and any other certificate that you may have. Let me repeat that. All you're required to walk with is your ID card, your birth certificate, and I hope you walk with the correct one. You walk with your birth certificate and any other certificate that you may have. What really is going on? Not so long ago, we heard them talking about not O level, subject. Yes, subject. So what has happened there now? CC, you want to explain that? You have been in training for all the years, man. Tell me what's going on there.
Well, they started from the top. They started masquerading. Somebody masquerading as a deputy commissioner, admin, acting. I remember their integrity and in lifted terms.
Integrity in policing. That was sometime last year. Yeah, integrity in policing. Yeah.
They declared that for you to join the force, they had upped the standard that you must have at least 3 CXC passes, grade 1s to 3. Perhaps they have shifted, the paradigm has shifted, because I can recall if it was in my time, we joined with our board certificate or a correct board certificate. We had no secondary education, both me and you. And even the present man who sits in the chair, he will not qualify if they had gone on to 3 CXC. But the thing is that I'm happy that they're making effort to recruit persons, and I'm happy that persons who do not have the secondary education, I hope so, will be recruited. But I have a little problem with the recruitment process. Police, they don't look at behavior, and police is all about behavior. Police has got to understand behavior. For you to join the force, they make it simple. You pass the qualifying examination, you pass the medical, special branch, which is no longer special branch, will clear you. And also, you have no criminal records. And you're automatic choice to become a member of the police force. No problem with that. But then again, if you don't do some kind of psychological examination, what they should do is that they should do like what and used to be done in certain part of the Caribbean or in Jamaica, what they call the assessment center, where apart from the passing the qualifying examination and other requirements, you go through a process where they check for psychological behavior, because plenty persons may pass and we may find ourselves recruiting a lot of psychopaths. We might find ourselves recruiting a lot of high school bullies, as the case may be. I can recall when I was in Jamaica attached to the college, they had what they call assessment centers, where trained assessors will evaluate those persons who want to join the force. I can recall Francis Forbes, you know him well, a security expert, became commissioner of police. He took me on an assessment center, and they had a guy there who came from the University of West Indies. He's a honor student, and he displayed some psychopathic behavior, and he wasn't selected. And I remember Francis Forbes saying him can come with him on a degree, him can come from Mona campus, but even him a psycho, him can't join the work. So in the process of recruiting, they need to look at psychological behavior. They need to assess them in that area. They will have less amount of police, but they have a better quality.
And that is what we should look at. We should look at quality. It's not about numbers. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. And I fully agree that some of them can be very, they can have all the subjects that they want, but then they might not be police material.
Yeah.
And conversely, you might have people who do not have all of that academic qualification background, but they have good moral standards. They were well brought up. They have, as the Chinese would say, they have brought up, see, where they were properly brought up to understand values and morals and they like good behavior. And I think that is what you should stress. And one of the concerning thing too, as you alluded to, is having gotten these people is to make sure that you do a proper background check on,
Yeah.
on them. And I say to people, and forget about this police clearance thing. The police clearance tells you that you do not have, or the police do not know of any criminal conviction against you. That is what the police clearance says. So, for example, if a man is charged 5-6 times for crimes, robbery, thieving, whatever it is, and he is not convicted, then there's no record there about it. There's no record, right? So you might be lucky, you get good lawyer, or people turn up and decide they're not going to give the evidence, whatever it is. He is not convicted because the police deals with conviction report. But when you go into the village and you do a proper background check, then the man's or the woman's character will be revealed once a proper background check. And here, don't do like what I understand people doing. They go and ask the relatives and they ask those people about the person. That is not the way it is done. That is not the way a proper background check. So it is important because even now, it is even more important now when you have so much pressures. You understand what is going on, all the allegations of corruption and all of that. So if you bring the cleanest person in, and he comes into an environment that is likely to change him. So there is even more reason that you have to have a person with strong morals and strong character. So I wish that I get people to recruit into the force. But again, remember, you're recruiting from the same pool, the same set of people who are being sought after by other agencies that people will tell you are paid even better. Because that brings me to the point where they were advertising that they wanted to recruit carpenters and painters and plumbers. Now you tell me where you're gonna get carpenters, those skilled persons from for $60,000-$70,000 a month, and all the restrictions and all the rigidity. Where you gonna get them from? So as I said, we hope I wish them well, but let's see how that will go on. Now the next thing I have here,
Before that, Paul, just to add with the police clearance, the thing is that when the police are doing an investigation, they need to take the particulars of the person, and if there's a conviction, they will send it to the CRO. But in many cases, those convictions are not sent to the CRO. So a man might have 5-6 convictions, and when he applied to the CRO, no trace because nothing was sent to the CRO, and they need to get back to the stage where conviction reports are submitted to the CRO for filing and for records.
well, good point. That's a good point because if there's a breakdown in submitting the conviction reports, it means that the Criminal Records Office will not have the records of that conviction. So a person applies for a police clearance, and then of course nothing is there on record. But that's why we say that is why it is important that a proper background check is done. Very important. Now, the next thing I want us to look at. I noted over the past couple months, after the skank, remember we had this skank show, this moderation show, where gunfire leak out and all this everything, and there was a big uproar. Now, the show that immediately followed that, they put up a system where they were checking patrons going into the show, and the police would release a quick picture of all kind of implements, scissors, knives, and all kind of thing they find or they seize from patrons going to the show. I noted they had this show that they call Emancipation Juve, and day before yesterday or sometime then, they did the same thing again. They put up a picture with several items, scissors, screwdrivers, knives, and what I call a fake gun seized. But these things are seized and you're not hearing anything about charges laid against these people. I want to know if the offense of possession of a lawful weapon offensive weapons
offensive, yeah.
is no longer applicable. Is that? I remember the definition for that, and I made a note of it. They said any article made or adapted for the use of causing injury to the person and intended to be used by that person for such a purpose. So finding people with knives, finding people with screwdriver, finding a man with a fake gun. All they're saying is that these things were seized from these people, but there's nothing to say that these persons are charged. What are your views on that?
I note your concern. I am also concerned that all these items is seized and then nobody has gone to court. Makes me wonder, that whether or not they seize anything, or they just bring up a photograph and say this is what they seized, an old photograph some time ago. But persons should be prosecuted. You send a strong message here. You can't go to this sport, or you can't go to this juve or this botheration show with these offensive weapons and things.
Well, exactly, because if as they're saying these things, and there are dozens of items, dozens of items, scissors, I noted screwdriver, I noted knives, I noted, and in one case, the last photographer, Tygon. So these things are found on persons, and what happens? You just take it away and tell them go into the show. What type of policing is that? What type of policing? No wonder that the people continue to return with this thing, because the proper message is not sent. The message that you really sending is that, look, we're not going to do anything about it. That is very, very worrying. And I remember as a young policeman, the offense of offensive weapon. Once you find a man with a knife in the waist or a screwdriver in the waist, then you also add the offense of housebreaking implements, because if certain implements were found on the person during the course of the night, crowbar and the like, screwdriver, they were charged for being in possession of housebreaking implement. But here you have the case where people are found in possession of offensive weapons and nothing is being done apart from just taking it away from them. And that is what they're saying, That is what they are saying. So I don't know if they're not giving you all information, but based on what we have come to learn about the Corporate Communication Unit, they just release everything. So I would suspect that if forces are charged following these discoveries, that charges would be laid, but they are not saying that. They are not saying that charges are being laid. So CC, let me hope they listen here now, and that the political handlers, because a lot of these things, they ain't gonna do nothing until they get instruction from that building southwest of Camp Road, Unless they get instruction for those buildings, the one in Brickdam and the one southwest from Camp Road, nothing is going to be done. But that is the type of policing you have. How can you be policing the city in particular like that? People are walking around with offensive weapons, and all you're doing is taking it away from them, make a big picture, and they don't recognize how they're indicting themselves when they publish that picture and do not go on to say that those persons were charged for being in possession of offensive weapon.
I hope the Commander Region 5, I think his nurse, is listening, because I think he got a big show coming up, and I hope that we'll see if they find persons with those items that we hear that they go on to court.
But a clear message should be sent. People say, well, the scissors basically are used for cutting up ganja. So you're finding scissors that are used to cutting up ganja, but you're finding ganja, and you're finding other stuff. So something is definitely wrong. You're finding other stuff. Screwdriver. You can't say, well, the screwdriver is to cut up ganja. Screwdriver, in my view, my experience, is clearly an offensive weapon. You have it in your waist, or you have it something going to show. That is offensive weapon. Knives, some long knives, daggers are found, and nothing is happening. A man is found with a tie gun, and you want to tell me all you will do is seize it and tell him, go and say no more? Something is wrong with the manner in which policing is being done. Something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong.
Yeah.
Now there's another, every day, as we said, sometime when the show is finished on one Wednesday, you plan what you're gonna talk about the next Wednesday, and then so many things intervene that you have to deal with them. I saw a video, you know, how we warned about this, you know. We don't like to say that I told you so, but we warned them. I saw a video where a robbery took place. They said a supermarket, Chinese supermarket in BV. But there's no Chinese supermarket in BV. I'm from BV. The supermarkets in the area are in Triumph and at LBI. They have one in the public road at LBI. They've got one in Smiling at the Embankment Road at Triumph. But they call it BV. All right. Where the bandits walk into the place, and you can see they relieve the security guard of the firearm with which he was armed. And we were warning about that. And the reason why that can be done is because, first of all, I don't know why you need a security guard with a gun at a supermarket. All right, they might feel perhaps more comfortable for them, more comfortable for the supporters, the patrons. But then I have commented on this program before, and I called two locations. I call GRA, where a man is there with a shotgun and anybody can take it away from him. Or if there's something were to happen and he uses a shotgun, he's likely to injure innocent persons. I made the same point about NIS, where a man at NIS is there with a submachine gun. A submachine gun. Somebody walk up to him and can relieve him of that submachine gun. Or God forbid, if something happens and he has to shoot, it's trouble in the place. And I made it because people, those guards that you have there, those security persons, do not occupy any tactical position. They just stand there, and that is the problem. So if you are armed in one of those places, in any place, my training tells me that you have to have a tactical position which allows you to defend yourself, which allows you to protect the firearm with which you're armed, and to protect the property that you are put together. Where the man just stand up right there in the traffic where the people walk in and people walk out, that is likely to happen. People know that you get a gun, and what the bandits do, they relieve him of the firearm. So this is another firearm there now in the hands of the wrong person. So I hope that they will look at that. And in every case where security personnel are in these places, they try to get some tactical advantage. CC, what are your views on that?
Paul, I agree with you, but there are so many private security services in this country, much room in. Overnight, they appear in. And is the police giving them the license to operate? And most times, Paul, when you watch them, you don't know who is the security from who is a bandit, how they dress. And sometimes I understand is that the client will tell them, hey, I want you to stand up by this door. The client will dictate the position that they hold. And they're not properly dressed. They're not wearing the uniform as they ought to. They got a Private Security Act. I have it in front of me. 2009. And here it say, Section 17.1, a private security agency shall issue to every private security guard and every supervisor employed or engaged by it a photo identity card with distinct identification number, special uniform, special badges, and caps indicating the logo or emblem of the private security agency concerning as approved by the controlling authority. And 3 says, while on duty, every private security guard and supervisor shall wear the uniform and badge given to him and shall display in his person the photo identity card issued under subsection 1 unless otherwise approved by the controlling authority. This act here is more observing the breach than anything else. They're not checking on it.
Exactly, because the same guard who was relieved of his firearm. If you look at his dress, I don't think he had any proper uniform. He was just standing there.
A jersey with security mark at the back.
He was just, well, like I said, perhaps they're going to say that is the uniform. You get security mark at the back. But
clearly the logo, and also you must have an ID card. I've never seen one with an ID card swing around your neck, apart from the uniform.
Well, you see, that is the issue. And you would recall that years ago, when Mr. Lailus was the commissioner and a security company applied for permission, they used to have to come before us at the senior admin level with a model.
Yeah.
With the uniform. They have to wear the uniform, and we will make a decision as to whether uniform was appropriate for the security, because you know many of them wanted to have uniform that was close to the police uniform, and
Yeah.
we used to object to that. We used to say the uniform has to be distinctive and
Yeah.
cannot be mistaken for the police uniform. But again, as I've said, you said the thing is honored in the breach. Those things are not being adhered to, and you're gonna have problem like this. But it's a serious, serious problem. It's a serious problem in terms of the training these people that they call them security guards have, and the locations of these places, because it simply means that when these thief men, these bandits want a firearm, they get one, they know exactly where they can go and get others. And so that is very, very worrying indeed. That is the worrying part to me. The worrying part is not only you have an untrained man there with a firearm, but an untrained man with a firearm that can find itself in the hands of criminals. And that should be worrying to every Guyanese. And I hope that the powers that be will have a relook at this whole thing. They should have a relook, because and you know social media goes. Next thing you're gonna have what you call copycat. The set of people see that and they said, oh, this is the easy way to get a firearm. And remember, they don't necessarily even have to get gun to go and stick up the port. So they cannot go with some knife or something like that. So it is very, very, very worrying. And I hope that it is addressed urgently. Now let me go into the issue that I identified that we will talk about this morning. This Quindon Bacchus murder. So many things have happened since this incident in June. So many things. And you know, the PCA, Police Complaints Authority, gave a report. The report that they gave, I read the report. Read it last week. We spoke about it last week. But during the week, during the ensuing week, I have gone through this thing again. And this thing has raised more questions than answers. The report submitted by the Police Complaints Authority has raised, in my view, having analyzed the report, not only reading it, but having analyzed the report, it has raised more questions than answers. One of the questions that raised, because the police report says, the Complaints Authority report made it clear that all the ranks who are there said that they heard gunfire and that the gunfire was coming from the deceased Bacchus shooting at the police. They all said that is what the report, that is what the report said. That is what the report said. The report goes on to say that that is a lie, because the evidence showed, the evidence revealed that the gun that they claim that this man had could not fire. So the question is, why aren't all those persons who obviously told a lie, according to the report, in attempt to cover up this murder, why are they not charged either as for perverting the course of justice or with some disciplinary matter, with some disciplinary offense? Mr. Conway, you want to think there?
There are, as you rightly said, so many questions, so many unanswered questions. And I don't know why they're covering up. There are so many, if not criminal, so many disciplinary offenses that took place there. So many breaches. And to use the normal term, they should have thrown the book on all of them. Let the chips fall where they may. And I say start from the top. Start from the head of special branch right down. All those players there should be involved. The players and the directors all should have been dealt with. And Paul, one thing that I read, like you, I read again the report, and something is missing. 7 bullets in Bacchus, 5 in his back, 2 in the front, and we can't find a warhead. Nothing mentioned but in any word. What happened with the warhead? All because
I am hoping that is a oversight on the part, because remember this report that we're talking about, at least the one that I am talking about, is that the report from the Police Complaints Authority. And as you would know, there would have been a file from the police to the Director of Public Prosecutions. The file would have had all his statements and all of that. including it will also have the postmortem report. And I'm hoping that the fact that nothing is mentioned in the PCA's report, it is not an indication that that is not mentioned in the report from the police to the DPP. I mean, that will be very, very worrying indeed if they did not indicate that. That ought to be there, the postmortem report, the exhibits, called the bullets or the warrants that we will talk about, those things have become exhibits that are to be presented in a court of law. And so yeah, so that is worrying that it is not mentioned. But I hope that that is an oversight and that those things are secured, because without that, it's gonna be trouble. And I agree the book. And here, let me make it plain. I don't know the ranks involved. I know the name of the officer from the CIA. I know the name. If I see now, I can't recognize him from Adam, so I don't know the name. I don't have anything personally against these people. They talk about Inspector Ramatar and the Corporal Pusa. I don't know them. I don't know them. I do not know this person, but I'm looking at the report, and the report, one of the things that struck me, the report made it clear that in this vehicle that was being driven by the Nobriga, the man who was charged with murder, that vehicle had a Corporal Prasad sitting on the front seat, front passenger seat of that vehicle, and they had the other man, Simon, who subsequently is charged. He was in that vehicle, in the back seat, and then he found himself in the trunk, because the story is that he felt that Bacchus might have been able to identify him.
Yeah.
But even that raises question, because the same report goes on to say that there was an altercation at some hangout, and the altercation was between or among, as you would say, Bacchus, the Nabriga, and Simon. So if Simon was fearful and they were fearful that Simon would have been recognized, how come they weren't fearful that the Nabriga would have been recognized as well? Because they were all in this altercation at this night spot. So a lot of questions are raised. And the thing is, Pusad was the man in the vehicle. The report says clearly that when they exit, Pusad was in the front passenger seat of the vehicle in Nabriga. And Pusad disappears off the scene, of the report and everything. There's nothing more about Pusad. Even they say Pusad was one of these persons who joined in the pursuit of Bacchus. He disappears from out of this report. What really is going on here, CC?
Well, they're saying he was deep cover, no? And they mess up the whole thing. They blow everybody cover. He was deep cover. Don't mention anything but him. But then on Facebook, on Finley Facebook page, there is a photograph with 21 persons in deep cover, exposing them to members of the public, exposing them internationally. So if they didn't mention anything but Passad, I didn't expect that anything would happen to the rest too, because the rest 21 members of the of that special branch. And let me tell you a story. A woman called me on Sunday, a former member of the police, of this police special branch. She lives in London. She said after 6 years, her husband, she got careless, and her husband found out that she was a member of the special branch after 6 years. She said it nearly cost her marriage, it nearly cost her husband, because according to the records, she was working at Ministry of Home Affairs, but she was a deep cover, and after 6 years, then her husband found out. And that is how special branch should be. That's the nonsense that's going on now.
Well. And then the next disturbing part. So Passad disappears out of this scene, out of the report. He's not mentioned again. I don't know why. Then it comes to a part where a witness, and I want to read this part, because the witness, they said this witness, let me read. When they talk about the reckless thing, it's also supports of the reasonable inference that Lance Corporal Dinagara intended to kill Bacchus. There's one that said. And the same, there's a witness. The witness also identified Sergeant Ruplal as one who said, "Empty the effing clip." This also evidences an encouragement to kill. The policeman running behind Lance Corporal Dinabriga was Corporal Nicholson, by his own admission. So you have a witness who told the PCA that the witness overheard Ruplal, Sergeant Ruplal, telling the Nabriga to empty the effing clip in Bacchus. And the PCA says that that is an encouragement to kill. That is clear evidence. He said it's evidence of an encouragement to kill. And this man is not charged. He's not even mentioned again. He is not, they mentioned a Corporal Nicholson who was running behind this man. But really, as I've said, more you read this thing, more you are concerned. And I must say, you have said before, we have confidence in the Police Complaints Authority, the person who owns that office. But this is, when I read this, say this is very, very disappointing. I must admit, I can't stifle my conscience that this surprised me greatly. Because all of these things, and not only that, because these things are identified in the report, and there was no recommendation for some of these people to be charged. There was no recommendation. So why you recommend that Simon, apart from the criminal charge, is to be charged departmentally? So why no at least departmental charge against those persons? Can we conclude, or can we assume then that instructions were passed to leave these people out, as people are alleging? What really is going on? This thing here is more baffling, and I'm going to come to some more worrying part as we go along. But this is very, very baffling. And let me come to the other part right away. When we talking about the part with McLennan. David McLennan, he was a sergeant there who we told people he was promoted to cadet officer during the course of this investigation, and the promotion was rescinded. Now, when I read this part, last week I made the point that this part of the report was very confusing. I read this part again, and it is clearly saying, this is what the report from the PCA is clearly saying, that during all of this going on, McLennan was not at the scene. That's what the report is saying. Let me try to find that part and read it. Let me try to find that part and read that part, what it says. They say that the plot thickens, the spell shell picked up by Lance Corporal Dinarabiga and another spent shell found at the scene at the road parapet shortly after the shooting was proven by ballistic experts to have been fired from the gun uplifted by Sergeant McLennan. There is no evidence, video or otherwise. Hear this, man. Hear this. This is what the report is saying. There is no evidence, video or otherwise, that Sergeant McLennan was at the scene of the shooting at the time of the shooting. There is no, this is, you laugh, but it's not. It's serious. There is no evidence. Let me read that part again, what the report is saying. The report is saying that there is no evidence, video or otherwise, that Sergeant McLennan was at the scene of the shooting at the time of the shooting. And it goes on to say, when I told him that 2 spent shell fired from his gun at the scene of the, were found at the scene of the shooting, he denied. And then he said, well, he had given the man 2 rungs or something like that. But the point is, if this man was never the scene of the shooting, you're saying that spent shell from his gun, and then he never fired, because he actually said that since he was issued with firearm, he never fired it. They're saying that spent shell found at the scene of the shooting matched the gun that he was issued with. Some magic took place here. Can you explain that, CC?
Cannot, Paul, and you hit the nail on the head. That a lot of offenses identified in the report, but no recommendation. I remember once listening to Sir Lionel Laku, and he made a very some famous speech. He said the elephant went into labor and gave birth to a mouse. I stop there.
Yeah. This thing, and so here it is. This man is charged, and they try to say in the report that empty casings found at the scene were proven to be fired from his firearm. Well, then again, the scene wasn't properly protected. Let me understand this. The scene was not properly processed the scene was not properly protected. So finding empty casing from any gun at the scene does not link necessarily the gun at the scene or the person who carried the gun as firing at the scene. A lot of magic, and I'm using this word magic advisedly, a lot of magic can take place where people will claim that empty casings fired from a particular gun were the scene of the crime. Because remember, I would have expected, and I think they said in the report that following the incident, all the firearms were lodged. All the firearms were lodged. Now, if you lodge firearms and then you have to do ballistic checks, it means that at some stage, those firearms would have to be fired by the person who is doing the checks. You have to fire. That is how ballistic checks are done. That is how ballistic checks are done. It had to fire. And I don't want to cast aspersions. I don't want to class blame, but it's very suspicious that they're saying that the man was not at the scene. The man gone. Up to now, I don't know if they you say you find empty casing, but have you conclusively proven that that firearm was fired before you did your ballistic check? Because that's an important consideration as well. And I was saying from the outset that in a matter like this, where all of these forces were there, the report suggests others fired as well. You ought to have checked all the firearms, all the ranks who were there should have been examined for gunpowder residue, and that is how we would have been able to determine who fired, who was in close proximity, and all of that. So we have to understand that perhaps there's more in the mortar than the pestle. But it is very, very worrying that people who were there, and according to the report, people who encouraged this man to shoot, nothing is done about them. The report even pointed out the negligence of the officer, the senior officer there, where he failed to protect the scene.
Yeah.
Right, he allowed the main suspect, the Nabriga, to pick up firearm, to pick up casing. A lot of magic took place. A lot of magic took place, and I hope that these people can sleep when the night comes, because you have people languishing in the prison, and according to the report, they should never have been there. They should never have been there. And to compound matters, these persons are charged for varying offenses. The Nabriga is charged for murder. Simon is charged, I think, for perverting the course of justice, and some disciplinary charges recommended against him. McKinnon is also charged with perverting the course of justice. I understand a few days after the charge, the man who sits in the chair moved and dismissed the people from the force. Have you heard that?
Yes, I heard that they got dismissed. Perhaps he using the unconstitutional thing of dismissal at pleasure. You can't dismiss people like that. First thing you have to do proper investigation. And if you go into the police discipline act, you went at length with it over some time ago. And it's saying that you should serve the man with a disciplinary notice. And if you have enough evidence, you charge him. And in charging him and you want to dismiss him, you have to endorse the charge sheet. Then you're hereby informed that if you're found guilty, your dismissal before or reduction in rank may be considered. This has no way mean that the matter has been prejudged. That the man has a right to be heard. Justice must prevail, and you don't just dismiss people at pleasure. There's antiquated. And we had a lot of persons who were senior police officers who were dismissed at pleasure, and they won the case. Let the rule of law prevail. And
well, exactly.
before I think that, just get him. But the more you analyze a report, the more you questions come up. What has happened to Bacchus's clothes? Is it another Monica Reese where they throw away the clothes?
No, let me say this. Addressing this unconstitutional and unlawful dismissal. Ranks are charged, all three ranks, even the man who is charged for murder. There is no lawful authority to dismiss them pending the outcome of these charges. There is something that is called the rule of law. One of their political handlers like to spout that phrase, the rule of law. The rule of law dictates that those persons should be given the opportunity to be heard. They are charged criminally. Yes, they are charged criminally. You cannot lawfully dismiss them. I have not seen the dismissal notice, but I have a strong suspicion, as you have alluded to, that they're going to dismiss them under what we call 34.1. And 34.1 says, let me read what 34.1 says, that the commissioner may at any time discharge any subordinate officer or constable from the force on the grounds that, having regards to the conditions of the force, the usefulness of the subordinate officer or constable thereto, and any other relevant circumstance, such discharge is desirable in the public interest. Now, when you read the letter, and that's 1601, 34, section 34 of chapter 1601, it suggests to you here, but that has been challenged over and over. You alluded to, and there were there have been many cases over the years. I remember Assistant Commissioner Cyril Bollers dismissed in the public interest. I remember Assistant Commissioner Hilton Cummins dismissed in the public interest. I remember Senior Superintendent John Seeley. All of those persons challenged the dismissal in the public interest, and they have all won. And I recall in 2018, when I became the chairman of the Police Service Commission, I had the cause to speak with the then Solicitor General. And the Solicitor General said to me, Mr. Slow, all of these things are being done unlawfully. You cannot dismiss people like that. There's something called natural justice. There's something called the rule of law. They have a chance to be heard. You have to charge them. You have to make sure they go through a process. And I am now saying to the relatives and these persons, don't sit down and wait. You should challenge the dismissal, because the act you don't have to wait until you are the matter is dismissed against you, already you're convicted. The act has already been done, and you have sufficient grounds to move to the court to challenge the dismissal. You cannot dismiss a person under those circumstances, arbitrarily dismissing a man because he's charged with a criminal offense. You arbitrarily dismissing him. No natural justice, no the rule of law is not being followed. They should go and seek a competent lawyer. I know a particular lawyer, I'm going to mention his name now. The man make a lot of money, and you will remember not so long ago, even the Attorney General on the national TV had made the point that these unlawful actions are causing the government a whole set of money, because once the people challenge it, they can't, and that is what the Solicitor General has said to me, and that is what the Attorney General said. They can't even contest the matter. They have no legs to stand on because it is unconstitutionally done. They have no leg to stand on. So I would urge the persons involved, and here again, we are not promoting unlawful and criminal conduct. What we are saying is that there's something called the rule of law. There's something called the presumption of innocence. A person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So on what grounds you are dismissing this person even before a trial commences, even before the trial, on what grounds? And then there's another issue there too, CC, where I understand that since the persons have been charged about a month ago now, the courts have refused to grant them bail. The courts have refused. I understand up to last week, the people might have appeared in court, McKenna might have appeared in court, and he has been further remanded until sometime in this month or next month. Now, that is madness. That is madness. You have a case, a similar case, where a policeman shot and killed Orrin Boston in his bed. Remember that case not so long ago?
Yeah. And he got bail the same day.
Man got bail at his first appearance. The first time he appeared in court, he was granted bail. First time. He's charged with homicide, manslaughter, killing a man. He appeared in court, he's put on bail right away. You have this case where McLennan and Simon are charged with perverting the course of justice, and they are refused bail. What kind of system we live in, man? What kind of system are we living in, CC? Can you explain that?
Difficult. And then when we look recently, the Attorney General piloted a bill dealing with bail, that they make it so easy for persons to get bail. So,
but let me, I know that we have I guess some of my lawyer friends, well, not friends necessarily, colleagues, associates, acquaintances might be a better word. They look at this program. And the question of bail is an issue came up recently in Trinidad. There was a man there. Let me tell you his name. Um, there was a guy there in Trinidad. What's his name? Achilles Charles. Achilles Charles was charged with murder and remanded to jail. As is the normal thing, the man remanded to jail. Now he moved to the it went through a process. He was denied bail and it went through a process all the way to the Privy Council. All the way to the Privy Council. And for those of you who perhaps are not familiar, in Guyana's case, our final court is the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ. In the case of Trinidad and some other countries, Commonwealth countries, their final court of appeal is the Privy Council. Only last week, here what the Privy Council ruled in the Achilles Charles case. The Privy Council ruled that the provision in the Trinidad and Tobago Bail Act, which authorizes the automatic and absolute denial of bail for persons charged with murder, is unconstitutional on the footing that it proportionally contravenes fundamental human rights and the rule of law. Let me read that back for my lawyer friends them. And this is the Achilles Charles matter. The Privy Council, and that is the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, ruled last week that a provision in the Trinidad and Tobago's Bail Act, which authorizes the automatic and absolute denial of bail for persons charged with murder, is unconstitutional on the footing that it proportionally contravenes fundamental human rights and the rule of law. That is the Achilles Charles matter. So you know how these things work in terms of legal precedent and ruling of higher courts and so on. So you have in Trinidad now, and I read another article because the follow-up to that is last week. The same week that this ruling came out, Achilles Charles was murdered. He was gunned down.
Yeah.
And they're saying that based on that ruling, murder accused in Trinidad and Tobago now can approach the court in Trinidad and Tobago for bail. So I don't know how that is going to impact on the laws and the Constitution of Guyana, because as we know, once you're charged with murder in the case of the Nabriga, you're remanded and you remain under remand until, in some cases, we know a man been there 9 years without any trial recently, or in Bailey 5 years until he was freed. So I don't know how that will impact. The lawyers will want to tell you. Selwyn said, I am now running continued professional development for lawyers. I don't know if that is meant as a compliment or if you are upbraiding me. I don't know if it is a compliment or upbraiding me, but you have to bring these things to notice. You have to bring this thing, because I do reading, and when I see this thing, how can you be denying Damian McLennan and the other man bail? On what grounds? Maybe they have grounds, I don't know, but other grounds. But I would urge and you know, these things have to be challenged. So I will urge the McLennan and the people to go to the High Court, move to the High Court with an application for these people to get bail, because I don't believe that they have grounds, the magistrate has sufficient grounds to deny them bail. And this matter, as I've said, is becoming more well, Selwyn, thanks, Selwyn. Selwyn, he says with me, my analysis is on the spot. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Selwyn. But I would hope, you know, matters like these, the denial of McLennan for bail to McLennan, I would think that some of these more militant lawyers in Guyana will take up a matter like this, will challenge that this what I believe is injustice. This is a man who the report is saying was never at the scene. He never fired his gun. You're all right. You bring a charge to to say that he perverted the course of justice. When at the same time, you have evidence that others did likewise. You're saying that others actually encouraged the murder. They are not charged. And not only this man is charged, but this man is denied his freedom, his pre-trial freedom. He is denied his pre-trial freedom. It reminds me of what people have been saying repeatedly. Guyana is not a real place. Guyana is not a real place. I made the point again. The man in the Orange Boston's murder, well, not murder, because it's a manslaughter, the homicide. Let me use the correct, the correct term. The man in the Orange Boston's homicide is charged with manslaughter, and he is set. He's given his pre-trial liberty the same day he appears in court. Same day. And this man, who is charged with perverting the course of justice, has been denied bail now on at least 2 occasions. And you're telling me that is not injustice? You're telling me that is not injustice? The incident occurred. The man who sits in the chair of the commissioner unlawfully and unconstitutionally dismisses man from the force, whereas you know in the past forces are interdicted pending the outcome of the matter. Unlawfully and unconstitutionally dismisses the man, and then the court now is denying the man his pretrial liberty. Oh, this is so unjust. This is so unfair. Mr. Conway, let me hear you. I have mouthed off a lot. This thing worried me a lot. I have mouthed off a lot. Let me hear you on this one.
Paul, you said it all, and like I'm with you, just as how Selwyn is with you, but we gotta be concerned, yeah, that persons being denied their liberty, they're entitled to bail, and persons being dismissed at the pleasure of somebody. No way. But in terms of the bail, I agree with you that bail should not be denied when there are other instances. One day a man appeared the first time and he's gone on bail. And this is a minor offense as compared to the one that happened in the Boston case. And he's free to walk the road.
Well, you know, it's really sad. It is really, really, really sad that this type of injustice can be meted out. And I say again, I am calling on those lawyers who are in Guyana to take up this case. This is clear, in my view, it is clear injustice. And I believe that any application for bail, reasonably argued, any argument will be successful. And I think this should be done post-ace, because to have a man languishing in jail under these circumstances is not right. I don't believe it is right. It is correct. And I would hope that they will take it up and challenge it. If the lawyers don't take it up just like that, I would hope that if the relatives, the family members of these guys, I'm referring here to Simon and McLennan, will take it up as early as today. Take it up, get a lawyer to challenge this, take it to the High Court to seek bail on behalf of these persons. They are entitled to bail. And especially when, as I've said, you had a recent case that generated perhaps the same amount of controversy and publicity. I refer to the Orange Boston case. The policeman in that charge of manslaughter and was released on bail at its first appearance. He was released on bail. And this is a case where man charged for perverting course of justice. The evidence show he was never on the scene. So he charged for perverting course of justice because of some convoluted arrangement. Is denied bail on 2 consecutive occasions. This is a matter that should be taken to the High Court immediately for these people to release and bail, and also challenge the unconstitutional dismissal. You can't allow these things to go like that. There are dozens and dozens of cases, similar cases, where persons were dismissed without getting a chance to be heard. And according to the lawyers involved on every case, on every such case, they can't even, the state can't even defend the action. The state cannot even defend the action. The case has to agree that the action was unconstitutional, and throwing the towel. Unconstitutional, and they're throwing the towel. So this is a case I would urge that you do not wait. You do not wait. Because I say it is, in my mind, a clear injustice, and we need to challenge these unconstitutional, these unjust acts, because things, they're in a slippery slope. I said slippery slope, unconstitutional appointments, unconstitutional dismissal, and once you're there on this slope, it will continue to slide. Somebody got to check it. Somebody got to check it. CC, in closing, what do you have to say?
Paul, certain matters will not go away. And I want to refer back to the last illegal promotion. I said it before, but I want to say it again. I remember the man who is masquerading as a deputy commissioner admin said that in the last promotion, they look at gender and they look at race. I don't know what yardstick he used, but subsequent the next year, I think they pull it down after he mentioned it. But when you look at the promotion list to assistant commissioner, 5 out of 8 were of a particular race. Senior soup, 7 out of 11 was of a particular race. And superintendent, 10 out of 21 was of a particular race. And that race is not the dominant race in the police force. And in terms of the staff side, the women, no woman was promoted to assistant commissioner. No woman was promoted to senior superintendent. And 5 out of 21 promoted to superintendent. I can go on and go on the list, but let me stop at the assistant commissioner, the senior soup, and the superintendent level. That, and I got to recall what the unconstitutional chairman of the Police Service Commission said on the 4th of July. He said that he was awaiting the list of promotion from the Commissioner of Police. And on the 2nd, there is a list signed by the Secretary of the Police Service Commission promoting 250 something members of the Guyana Police Force. What due diligence was done? That list is a corrupt list. That list is like the voters list. And I hope, well, it has been challenged, and I will continue to say that it is corrupt, it is unconstitutional until proven otherwise in court.
Thank you very much for those closing comments, CC. Let me say, in respect to the police promotion list, I have made some observations, but time will not permit me now to deal with it. So perhaps next week we'll continue. But as I've said, to my viewers, to the listeners, we have to keep these matters in the public domain, because if you don't do that, these people get away with all kinds of unconstitutional, all kinds of unlawful action. Remember, I tell you about this limited shelf life, and that is what they play on, that something comes up, it hits the news for a day or two, and it dies down. So they do a rope-a-dope. They just go in the corner, they cover up, and when the punches stop flying, then they come out again and they perform some other illegal, unconstitutional act. I intend to use this medium to continue to keep these things highlighted. I know they're uncomfortable. I don't care. I know that they're uncomfortable. I will keep them highlighted, because these unjust, these unconstitutional actions need to be kept in the public domain. And as we said earlier, they never watch, never watch. So you have cases, we have seen evidence that they are watching. In some cases, they have taken the action to reverse certain unconstitutional decisions, like the dismissal of ballers. They took action in that. And I'm hoping that the handlers in the same dismissal of these ranks will tell them that, look, you can't do that. You should withdraw the dismissal letters and wait. Because they themselves, remember, the DPP recommended that they want Simon be charged with a departmental offense. So when you dismiss it, you mean you're done, you can't charge you anymore. And I cautioned about that. I cautioned about the departmental offense. I cautioned about that. And therefore, that gone down the drain too. If you're going to dismiss him, that gone down the drain. I will hope that the senior heads, the legal heads, will tell them that they have acted incorrectly and tell them how they can reverse, because it's reversible. Tell them how they can reverse that unconstitutional and unlawful act. Tell them. Tell them. So let me close by saying thanks again for your time. What? 1 hour and 20 minutes. So quickly, I didn't realize that the time has flown like that. I had so many other things to talk about, but we'll leave it here for today, and then we'll come again next week. But I want to, as I would normally do, warn you that you don't hear much about COVID now in terms of the news. But if you follow I follow on social media, they give a release every day, I think, from the Ministry of Health, and they're telling you now people of the number of persons who have contracted the disease and persons who are dying. And therefore, COVID is still very much with us, and we need to take every care to protect ourselves. And of course, you would have seen too that in recent times, there is no monkeypox. Monkeypox is there now, and you got to read, you got to educate yourself, you got to take all precautions to keep yourself and your family safe. So I want to urge you to make sure that you take all the precautions to be safe. And God's willing, next week, Wednesday, we will meet again at 11 o'clock, when we're going to have another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. For now, bye until next week.